Action.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Fat Minute, the official podcast of Pooka, Saucy. I'm your host, Blake Jones. I'm gathered here today with my co-creator, Michael Whedon.
How's everybody doing tonight?
And producer and editor, Donnie Johnson.
Okay, look, I know he was evil, but all I'm saying is Hitler was probably the greatest public speaker ever.
On to the first dump. So the first teaser trailer for the new James Bond film, new 007, Spectre, came out this week.
That's a sexy name.
Spectre.
Spectre.
Yeah, Spectre.
We're going to have a lot of redneck people coming into a theater.
I'm on Spectre.
Spectre.
It is a teaser in the purest form of the word. It continues on from where Skyfall left off. I'm not going to get into Skyfall a lot because Michael hasn't seen it yet, so if you haven't seen Skyfall yet, go see it. It's one of the best ones. Probably that and Goldfinger are the best James Bond movies, in my opinion. And I have seen quite a few of them. So it starts off, and Spectre is the most evil organization in the world. They are the arch nemesis to
MI6.
To MI6, where James Bond is from. You know, they're responsible for every terrorist attack, every drug heist, every bank heist. You know, you remember yesterday morning when you had your cereal and it was a little soggy? That was their fault.
They're kind of like Hydra before Hydra.
Yeah. Everything bad that ever happens in the James Bond universe is Spectre's fault. They're a bunch of assholes. Their leader is a man named Blofeld. For those of you listening, and I'm not sure if you're completely aware, if you don't know who Blofeld is the character that Dr. Evil is based on. You know, he's bald, he's got the scar around his eye, and he's petting the cat. And he is James Bond's Lex Luthor. He is his arch enemy. Who
was played by Donald Pleasance, who was Dr.
One of them was.
Well, yeah, he was was he the first?
He's the one that stands out the most in people's memory. He's been played by a bunch of people, actually.
Yeah, he was
Dr. Loomis.
Yeah, Dr. Loomis in Halloween.
And he was the president in Escape from New York.
Yeah.
So yeah, like he is the Joker to Batman, Lex Luthor to Superman. He is James Bond's arch nemesis.
Also, for future reference, the plural form of nemesis is nemesis.
Nemesis.
Not nemesi.
But yeah, and it's speculated that Christoph Waltz, who was the bounty hunter mentor in Django Unchained, he was the Jew hunter in Inglourious Bastards, he is Blofeld. Now, he's in the credits, he's playing a new guy named Obenhauser, whatever, and he's saying, I'm
Oberhauser or Uberhauser.
He's like, no, I'm not Blofeld. Let's be honest, I think he's lying. Remember when Benedict Cumberbatch kept saying, oh no, I'm not Khan? And up until the release, and in the trailer, he's obviously at a meeting for all these bad people, and Christoph Waltz's face is blacked out. He's Blofeld. And but yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It gets me excited. I mean, we're gonna need a full trailer to really get pumped for this. But let's just go into first reactions, starting with Michael.
I thought it was a really cool trailer. It had a very dark and sinister vibe to it. Like, it seems like this one's gonna be darker than the usual James Bond stories. I'm pretty excited to see Dave Bautista. You know, famous wrestler, played Drax the Destroyer in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's going to be, the secondary villain in it.
Or a henchman or something
I'm sure,
that.
He'll be, the villain that, James Bond fist fights.
Yeah.
So, that'll be cool. I love Daniel Craig as James Bond. I would say, as far as, good Bond movies go, he's the best Bond. I mean, Sean Connery's the classic. My personal favorite is Pierce Brosnan, because I think Pierce Brosnan's the perfect blend between Sean Connery and Daniel Craig, even though he came out before Daniel Craig. He had, the action that the Daniel Craig movies have, but he's more suave, like Sean Connery. Daniel Craig is suave, but in a different way. Daniel Craig's, less a secret agent, more like a cold-blooded assassin. But, no, I think this looks really cool. Christoph Waltz is an amazing actor. I loved Casino Royale. That's arguably my favorite James Bond movie.
You'll like Skyfall.
Yeah, Quantum of Solace was disappointing. I'll watch it again, but first time I watched it, I didn't like it.
This is what, his third movie as James Bond?
Fourth, yeah. And then everybody says Skyfall's great. It's on Netflix. I need to watch it. I've just been putting it off, and I don't know why. I think I kind of wanted to watch it with the guys, but I didn't get to. But no, I'm excited.
Donnie.
Can I make a confession? I've never seen a single James Bond movie.
That's okay.
Never seen a single one.
I thought you saw Skyfall.
Nope.
I thought you were there.
No.
Oh, wow.
If I was, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
So I've never seen a single James Bond movie in my entire life.
Okay.
Well, but the trailer for Spectre looks fun.
Yeah.
I'll,
at least watch the Daniel Craig ones up until Spectre.
Yeah. I mean, I know a little bit about James Bond, but not a whole lot.
He's serious Austin Powers.
Yeah. But Spectre looks fun. At least I'll go watch it. I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
I'll pop my James Bond cherry.
Okay. Well, let's move on then. The first official photo of Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor came out.
Speaking of Blofeld.
Yeah. I think it looks. I think it does look convincing. I think he looks more intimidating than he usually looks. He doesn't look like he's 12 years old in this. It's funny. When I first heard that Ben Affleck was Batman, it took me a whole day to really accept it. But now I'm like, oh yeah, totally. But with Jesse Eisenberg, I was like, what the fuck? at first. But then like a couple hours later, I was like, no, I could see this. Like, they're clearly trying to create a whole new Lex Luthor. The whole old angry white man thing has been stale. You know,
because Jesse Eisenberg is black.
Yeah. The old guy aspect has gotten stale, and you know, today,
well, in the comics they were always the same age.
Yeah, and today,
by they I mean Lex Luthor and Superman.
Yeah, and today, you know, I think they are trying to go more for a Mark Zuckerberg over a Bill Gates, and I think they are going to do the thing from Smallville and from some of the comics where Lex Luthor was childhood friends with Clark Kent and they grew up together. And but yeah, I think this will work. I think it will. Let's start with you, Donnie.
Well, first off, I pretty much called that they were going to make him bald.
Yeah.
I called it from the get-go. I know a lot of people were like, well, maybe they won't make him bald. Maybe they'll let him keep his hair. I'm like, no, they're going to make him bald because...
That's Lex Luthor.
Yeah. I'm like, they're going to make him bald. When I first saw the picture, at first, like when you first see it, it makes you feel a little uncomfortable just because it looks so awkward and so... It just looks weird. But after it sinks in, it looks all right. But as far as how well Jesse Eisenberg will do as Lex Luthor, I mean, I can't really say. I haven't really seen him in a whole lot. I haven't really experienced much of his acting. I never even saw The Social Network, which is like his claim to fame. So I can't really comment too much on him as Lex Luthor. But I think Batman and Superman is going to be really awesome. I'm excited for it. But we'll see.
Michael.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool picture. I mean, it's just Jesse Eisenberg, bald, looking ominous and mean. It looks a lot like a mugshot, like he's going to prison or something.
He looks like he has a convict outfit on.
Yeah, like a prison jumpsuit or whatever. I'm still kind of... I'd say I'm a little more than 50-50 with him. I can see him being Lex Luthor. I think they could have gotten someone better. But
please don't say Bryan Cranston. People need to let that go.
No, they only wanted Bryan Cranston because he acts angry and he was bald.
Yeah, people need to let that go.
Hey, this cancer patient's bald. I think they'd make a good Lex Luthor. Oh
my God. I think Jesse Eisenberg's a good actor. Like, some people try to compare him to Michael Cera or whatever, but Jesse Eisenberg gets way more work than Michael Cera.
Jesse Eisenberg has been nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah. I can see him doing a more, like, not so much like angry Lex Luthor, but a more cold and calculating Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think what he really needs to do to sell people is he needs to make his voice right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really gonna have to work on his voice.
Yeah.
But
voice and body language.
I mean, as far as
like nothing about Jesse Eisenberg looks intimidating.
No.
He looks like a small breeze could give him pneumonia.
But I think in this one they are gonna make him a psycho. I think they're gonna make him like nuts. Like he like flips out and stuff. They'll probably have him do like.
So basically, he's gonna be the Joker without face paint.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just not funny.
Just not funny.
Kind of defeats the purpose.
I still want to
opinion.
know if there's another villain.
Yeah.
Besides Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Because the only thing we have is like Batman and Superman fighting each other. Possibly a fight with Aquaman, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a cool picture. I just want a goddamn
I heard Spider-Man's going to be allowed to appear.
I just want a goddamn trailer.
Yeah.
Like, I'm dying.
Should be coming up within the next few months. Well, the 1 year away mark has already passed us.
And they're already done filming, so, like, they could make a trailer.
I hear they've had one done since before Christmas. So it's like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, they're just like...
They're sitting on
it.
it.
It's like they're pulling our rectums out, making us wait.
Yeah. Well, let's move on then. The first official photo of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool has finally hit. After years of speculating.
Since 2009.
And since 2009.
The better part of a decade.
Yeah. We have been waiting for Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. This has gone on so long that after a while, I'm like, Ryan Reynolds is not going to be Deadpool. It's dead. If they make a Deadpool movie, they're going to get somebody else. And it's like, I wasn't buying it. I'm honestly surprised. I have a little bit of egg on my face because I kept telling people, get over it, let it go. We're not going to see Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. He keeps signing on to other stuff. Now, granted, I think he did come back to Deadpool because everything else he tried to do failed.
Yeah.
But
Green Lantern, R.I.P.D.
Yeah. Even X-Men Origins Wolverine wasn't that good, and that probably killed the momentum a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he didn't even get to play Deadpool. Like, the beginning of the movie, he's like Wade Wilson pre-Deadpool, and Wade Wilson's just a mercenary.
Yeah.
And then the movie decided to do its own thing and create like a new version of Deadpool where he's basically Baraka from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
With no mouth and a mix of mutant powers.
Yeah. So, you see this photo, it looks exactly how you think it would. You know, it's like it doesn't look any different. It's almost like a screenshot from the video game.
Yeah. Costume looks exactly like the comics, which isn't bad.
It's not bad, but I mean, like...
It's got him in a cheeky little pose and a cheeky little smart setting in front of a fireplace, kind of winking at the camera.
He almost looks CGI at first glance, but you really have to stare at it. And the eyes are obviously going to be CGI. But there's something about the rest of them where, like, it doesn't look real. But
I feel like the background might be CG.
Really?
Like him laying down. I think that's what it is. And it's also the vibrant of the color of the suit.
Yeah.
That kind of makes it look fake.
Yeah, but clearly I think they're going to do what they did with Rorschach, where the eyes are cut out and there's green dots around it. And they're going to put in the white eyes so he can have facial expressions. But,
I mean, they showed like a mask, like where it had white lenses. So I think maybe some shots he's actually wearing a mask with white lenses.
Yeah. So full thoughts from both of you. Michael.
I really like this picture. I think it's, I don't know, the first time I saw it, I laughed. I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, as time went on, I wasn't sold on a Deadpool movie. I'm like, yeah, it's probably just not going to happen. But, I really like the test footage they showed where like, that was just like a CGI, like, mini trailer thing. I thought that was really funny. Like, it still cracks me up. I feel like if the movie's like that, it'll probably be really cool. I'm really curious if it's going to be PG-13 or R.
It's probably going to be PG-13.
Yeah.
I think it'll be right on the border, but I think it'll be PG-13.
Yeah, but, like, I think the picture's funny. Like, I think it just sets up the Deadpool mood perfectly. Like, you got this superhero, but, like, he's just doing the most ridiculous thing. Like, he's just posing on a shag bear rug laying down in front of a fireplace.
It'll obviously be 20th Century Fox's R-rated version of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like a comic book movie that's like goofy and funny.
Yeah.
Donnie.
Well, I don't I don't care about Deadpool at all.
Yeah.
He's written for 6th graders. He is. He is a giant fucking middle schooler. So I don't care at all. I mean, the character was funny at one point. He was kind of cool, I guess.
He was a lot more dark at first. Like, he was very much a villain in his original comics.
But I just don't care about this movie. I'm sure it'll find its way into my orbital viewing sockets at some point. But I'm probably not going to go out of my way to see it. I mean, if it ends up being good for them. If I end up liking it, great. If not, then I won't lose any sleep over it. I mean, when I heard, hey, first picture of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, it matched my mental image perfectly.
Yeah.
He's in a smart-ass pose, in a smart-ass setting. Costume looks exactly how you would expect. So I have a feeling like this movie's just going to be predictable from beginning to end. But hey, maybe I'll be surprised.
I just love how the biggest Deadpool fan in the group, Trevor, doesn't even like Deadpool that much anymore.
Yeah, it kind of dwindled. It faded away.
Yeah, well, it became... He became...
Deadpool is like...
He was like the hipster superhero at first,
he's
really.
He's up his own ass anymore, Deadpool.
Yeah, we also got kind of oversaturated with him.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
There was this big blow-up of him.
Like out of nowhere. Years. Like, our new FYE has a whole section dedicated to Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like the sign, like, you know how they'll have senseis, oh, this is the anime section, this is, the rock and roll section. This is the Deadpool section.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
At that point, yeah. Well, next piece of news we have is they finally announced what Steven Spielberg's next movie is going to be. It is a movie called Ready Player One, which is based on a book. I believe the man's name is Ernest Cline. I could be a little bit wrong, but here is the story of Ready Player One. Centers on a young outcast named Wade Watts. In the near future, Watts escapes his daily drudgery by logging onto a virtual reality utopia called Oasis. When the game's billionaire founder dies, he offers players his fortune as the prize in an Easter egg hunt within the Oasis. Watts gets in on the action, then after 5 years finds himself facing off against corporate foes who will go to any lengths to get the money, in both the real world and in the Oasis. So basically it sounds like Willy Wonka meets the Matrix. It is dedicated to a lot of 1980s pop culture. Steven Spielberg is directing it, which is like... That's like the number one prize, Like, if you make a movie, like, Steven Spielberg's as high as you get.
Yeah.
The other people they went after, and this is a Warner Brothers film, they went after Christopher Nolan, Edgar Wright, I think even Peter Jackson, and, what's his name? Back to the Future. Robert Zemeckis. And, but yeah, it's like a video game world mixed with 1980s pop culture. Going to be Steven Spielberg's next movie. I think this could be Steven Spielberg's big return to fun. Steven Spielberg got way too up the ass of like the historical Oscar bait films, like Lincoln, and and then like he made Munich way back. And I'm not saying that those movies aren't good, but the last fun movie made was Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which got its criticism. I'm still disappointed by his War of the Worlds. When you get the director of Indiana Jones and the star of Mission Impossible, and you make an alien invasion movie with them, and it's not action-packed, I think you kind of failed.
Yeah, they tried too hard to make that movie like a thriller and like running away and stuff.
Yeah, it's Retreat of the Worlds. And like, I was hoping like, I call it generic, call it cliche, but I was hoping like Tom Cruise would be like the John Connor of that movie, like the leader of a resistance or whatever. But
well, in all honesty, it's pretty much how the book goes down too.
That is true, but once again, would that have been the first time a movie didn't follow the book?
Touche.
But yeah, what do we think of this story of Ready Player One, starting with you, Donnie?
I love Steven Spielberg. He's been a little lackluster lately. Haven't really heard anything too fantastic from him in a few years now. But, I mean, like I said, I love him. I'll definitely give this movie a chance. I think it'll be good. It sounds a lot more like stuff he was known for in the past.
Yeah. Very
So,
Amblin film.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going back to his roots. He's taking a moment, going back to where he came from, and
Yeah.
hopefully it'll do well. Hopefully he'll find his rhythm, get back to making great movies like he used to. So I'll definitely give it a chance. When's it supposed to come out?
I mean, I think it's a little too late in the year now for it to come out next year, so probably 2017. Maybe I mean, it is Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
You can have a Steven Spielberg film come out any time of the year. So it may come out like next Thanksgiving or Christmas, not this Thanksgiving, Christmas, so who knows?
I'll definitely give it a chance. I'll definitely go see it.
So, okay. Michael.
Yeah, I think it sounds interesting. As far as like this movie goes, I don't really have a lot to say about it. I don't really know a lot about it. It sounds like interesting concept, like people going inside a video game or whatever. It's interesting. It has a very 90s feel to it.
Yeah.
I love Steven Spielberg. Same thing what everybody else said. I feel like he's really lost his touch the past couple years. And there's other he does a lot of like, you know, like Blake said, like the historic Oscar bait movies. Some of them work. And this is the problem with Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott did the same thing. He does like historical Oscar bait movies. What happened was they would do one or two of them and they would work. Like they were good movies. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to do that all the time." Like how Ridley Scott did like Gladiator, and like Gladiator blew up, and I love Gladiator. But then he has to do stuff like Exodus and the Robin Hood remake and stuff like that. Which Robin Hood remake isn't that bad, but it's not Gladiator. And like Steven Spielberg, like I love Saving Private Ryan, and then Schindler's List is amazing. Mm-hmm. But then like he kept doing shit like, I don't know. Like I heard Lincoln's not that good as people make it out to be.
It's really boring.
I heard
the biggest thing is it's disappointing. It was severely misadvertised. Like Lincoln was advertised as a biopic, but it really only takes place during the last 3 months of the Civil War, and then it shoehorns Lincoln's assassination in at the end of the movie. When the whole movie had very little to do with Lincoln himself, it mainly had to deal with his involvement in the war and Lincoln the politician, not Lincoln the person. So you spend the whole movie giving me nothing but politics, no personal stuff at all. Why start now? Why shoehorn the assassination in at the end?
Yeah, it should have been more accurately titled The 13th Amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense. If you want to see a good Lincoln movie, go see Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But Steven Spielberg really needs to go back, like Blake said, to the old days. Steven Spielberg, I think like the old Steven Spielberg was like the true definition of movie magic.
Yeah.
Like with like E.T. and the Indiana Jones movies.
When you heard a movie was directed by Steven Spielberg, you knew you were going to have a fun time.
You cleared your schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Close Encounters and even stuff like he helped make, like the Goonies. Like he helped make the Goonies.
Jurassic Park.
Like
Indiana Jones.
Jurassic, and then I think like Jurassic Park is kind of like one of his perfect blends, because Steven Spielberg does these really serious movies and then he does these really fun movies. And Jurassic Park, when you're a little kid, you have no idea what the hell's going on in Jurassic Park. Like all that technical stuff, I don't remember when I rewatched it as being older. I just remember seeing the dinosaurs running around. It is that perfect blend where little kids can watch and have fun, but Jurassic Park is one of the most thought-provoking movies I've ever watched. Just how, especially with Jeff Goldblum's stuff about how life will find a way, and the raping of the natural order, about bringing something back that's dead, and maybe it's supposed to be dead, and just like that's what Steven Spielberg does. He gives you these fun, unforgettable stories that aren't stupid. Like they're fun, but they're not stupid.
Yeah. His last great movie was AI, I think.
Yeah. last great movie.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
last great
Like,
movie.
I
I
like that. I don't like it as much as you two. I wouldn't
like
say it's his last great movie. I would say it's a good movie, but I wouldn't say it's great.
I like Indiana Jones 4. I loved it. It was a nice trip down memory lane for me. But as far as great, AI.
At the very least, AI's the last movie he did that did well.
What came out first? Jurassic Park or Schindler's List?
I think
it was the same year.
Was it?
I think both were
'Cause
1993.
That's a big year for him.
And then like Saving Private Ryan was 94, 95.
No, it was like 98.
Yeah, it was later.
98.
Fuck, Saving Private Ryan might be his last great movie to me.
Yeah.
Because like in the 2000s. Well, see, I need to watch Minority Report. I hear Minority Report.
That's a good one. With Tom Cruise, that's a good
That's
one.
the early 2000s. But I haven't seen that, so I don't know.
I haven't seen it either.
I hear that one's really
in
good.
the early
though.
2000s, he tried doing like pulpy sci-fi again. He did AI, then he did Minority Report, and then a few years later, he did War of the Worlds. Obviously, War of the Worlds is the weakest one, but Minority Report, it's a good Tom Cruise movie. And
I hear that movie's really, really good.
and he does it with that. Like, he has cool science fiction action and it has a badass scene, but it also deals with Tom Cruise, a father, dealing with the loss of his son. And the way it comes full circle, it's a cool reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the visionary. You know? Like, before him, you know, you had your Stanley Kubricks, you had your Alfred Hitchcocks, but I think Steven Spielberg was the first director that made it cool for average people to know the names of directors.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like when anytime someone says director, you automatically think it's Spielberg.
Yeah.
Like anytime someone makes a movie, like people will call him Spielberg
Yeah.
if you're into film and stuff like that.
But,
Yeah.
but there was a time where the average high school student or just like a couple, they, like when they went to the movies in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, they didn't know who directors were. But like Steven Spielberg, I think Steven Spielberg started that craze where, oh, who's your favorite director?
Yeah.
He started that. So, another
So
piece.
let's quit kissing Spielberg's ass now.
Yeah.
Spielberg, if you're watching, do something good
Yeah.
for once.
Another piece of news I wanted to get. This is for me was a little think piece. I'm kind of combining a few things together. We have Paramount this week announced that they were closing down InSurge, which is their low budget department where they were going to make like they weren't making the Paranormal Activity movies, but the movies like that. They made The Devil Inside. They were making Welcome to Yesterday or Project Almanac. So what the purpose of InSurge was, we'll give 10 movies $1 million, and then like each movie,
See how far it goes.
and see how far it goes. So they wanted to make all these micro budget movies and market them as big budget.
Unfriended one of them.
Yeah, no, that's Universal.
Oh.
But
Man, that movie just smells bad.
the whole thing was this was a giant cash grab. That was like let's make a bunch of money by spending a little money scattered out. And obviously it didn't do well because even for micro budget movies, nobody liked these films. There was only a couple of them, and it just didn't work. You know, you have to actually spend money and show love, and it starts with a concept. You don't be like, oh, what can you make for $1 million? You come up with an idea, and then you go, oh, well, how much would this cost? You don't put the price first. You shouldn't do that. I don't think so. And then they also announced that they want to make a cinematic universe based around Transformers. I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean because all the Transformers movies are sequels anyway. But they're like, we want a Marvel-like universe. I don't understand what you're talking about there.
Well, didn't they mention at one point they were going to try to do like a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover?
Which, I mean...
Gee, I wonder who wins.
It's like all they have to do is step on them. But I don't know where that came
I mean,
from.
The Rock is awesome, but he's not that awesome.
Yeah, he can't lift a Transformer.
Yeah. I mean,
He gives the people's elbow to Optimus Prime and just like shoots through him like a meteor.
I mean, like they show people fight them in the movies,
Right.
I don't.
And then the last piece was this month, and I was going to mention this in one of the other episodes. They announced Zoolander 2.
Oh.
Zoolander 2, Paramount did. A sequel to a movie that came out, 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Didn't actually do that well at the box office, I believe, but it grew a cult following through video release and stuff. I feel like this is a little case of striking while the iron's cold. If you wanted to make a Zoolander sequel, why did you wait over a decade to do it? It's a fucking goofy comedy about a male model.
Yeah.
And then this also goes back to what they did with Hot Tub Time Machine last month, where 5 years later, the first Hot Tub Time Machine wasn't that great. It was okay.
Yeah, Zoolander 1 came out in 2001, so that was...
14 years ago.
Yeah, and Zoolander 2 is going to come out 2016, so it'll be 15 years later.
Well, 5 years is a bit more acceptable than 15.
Right, but I think Zoolander is more popular film than the first Hot Tub Time Machine.
I don't know about that. Then why did it take 15 years for it to get a sequel?
Well, because Ben Stiller went off to do other stuff. But what I'm getting at here is, so you have Hot Tub Time Machine.
I think that's why Sin City: A Dame to Kill For did bad. Even though that was a good movie, and I love the first Sin City, it waited too long.
Yeah.
Like, that was 2014, and Sin City 1 came out in 2005. Like, that
almost 10 years.
Yeah, you had to wait almost a decade.
And it'll be a decade next month.
Yeah.
And so 5 years later, to a sequel to a movie with Hot Tub Time Machine that nobody begged for, nobody cried for, and then which also brings me to Anchorman 2, another comedy sequel that I felt they waited too long for.
Yeah.
I mean, Anchorman 2 was funny; it had its moments, but like it came out in 2004, and just we heard about it for almost a decade, and
We waited for a decade.
we waited for a decade, and it was just striking while the iron was cold once again.
Well, in the case of Anchorman 2, it was more like just a giant cock tease.
Yeah.
The one sequel is with Hot Tub Time Machine 2, and then Zoolander 2. You got sequels that not many people actually asked for.
Okay, you know what movie? But you know what movie will never be the victim of that? Striking while the iron's... Like, it'll never get cold. Like, you can wait fucking forever.
Star Wars.
Star
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars... That will never happen.
Well, Star Wars also isn't a buddy comedy.
I mean, but like my thing is like if you look at it, like I mean, like even though people can shit talk the prequels all they want, you know, everybody and their fucking mother was there when Episode 1 came out. Like
worst Star Wars I've ever seen. I will only see it 3 times today.
It's like people went nuts.
Yeah.
And like, when did Return of the Jedi come out again? I'm gonna look that up.
1983.
And then 16 years later, 1999 was Episode 1.
16 years. And people were lining the fuck up for Episode 1.
Everybody who was like in elementary, middle, or high school when Episode 6 came out, and then like they had their own families, and they see the commercial back in '99, Episode 1 in theaters this Friday. All across America, you just heard little fanboys.
Well, that's the thing. And then, like, Star Wars, it was like, you got the, like, for instance, my dad was a teenager in the 80s, and he loved Star Wars. And then you have the new generation. Like, I was 8 years old. We were 8 years old when The Phantom Menace came out. My dad took me to that, and that was the first Star Wars movie I ever saw and got me into it.
You're probably going to take Cade to Episode 7.
Yeah, we watched A New Hope. I showed him it for the first. But see, that's the thing. Like nowadays, Star Wars is really oversaturated. So Cade already knew a little bit about Star Wars because he's like played the games and
talking shit again.
Seen some of the cartoons, but that's. I mean, we're getting really fucking off topic now, but like
no, like. Okay, go ahead.
But that's the thing. Like that's the like one movie series that can get away with that, but like nobody else can do that. Like that's just the magic of Star Wars.
Right, I agree.
Like,
and
Star Wars
James Bond would be too far behind it.
Yeah, well, James Bond. I mean, they recast them every couple years.
James Bond's kind of constant though.
Yeah,
like that's why it's got so many fucking movies.
Right, 50 years. It's the longest movie franchise. But
that went by quick.
So we have comedy sequels, Striking While the Iron's Too Cold, that weren't exactly too necessary.
And this is also kind of like, remember last year when Paramount said they managed to get the complete rights to make another South Park movie if they wanted to?
Yeah.
It's like, does anybody really want one?
I'm getting there. Well, yeah, okay, that is a point too. They're also trying to make another Friday the 13th. Yeah. That's right. And there was rumors of the new Friday the 13th being found footage shaky cam. So
make a bad series even worse.
So you have these sequels that are too little, too late. You have this Transformers expanded universe that doesn't make sense and feels like an oxymoron. And then you have these
meet the Micronauts.
Yeah. And then you have these small budget films that still don't make enough money. What I'm getting at here is
Paramount's fucking up.
Do you feel that Paramount Pictures is becoming a mismanaged studio, Donnie?
They're definitely on that path. I mean, Hot Tub Time Machine 2, Zoolander 2, possibility of another South Park, possibility of another Friday the 13th. Does anybody really want these movies? I love South Park. I watch South Park all the time. I've kind of grew up on that show along with The Simpsons. But the first South Park movie was great. But you know what? I think the only time they should really make another one is maybe if they decide to end the series. It's just...
Yeah.
Another Friday the 13th, that series just needs to be put to rest. And if you're going to make another Friday the 13th, why make it shaky cam?
I don't think that is the plan now, but that was seriously in the cards.
Why?
Well, Jason Voorhees, to me, is probably one of the most boring fictional characters ever.
Out of the big three, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and Jason Voorhees, Jason is the weakest of the three. Zoolander 2, who the fuck cares about Zoolander? Why are these movies that didn't do well getting sequels? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Michael.
Yeah, I think Paramount's kind of going downhill a little bit. I think...
Keep in mind, this is the studio that made The Godfather.
Yeah. And I want to add these two in it. They had two great hopes. Well, the second one I'll mention not so great since a lot of people are saying it's petered out and should be left alone, but I think this needs to be reminded. Other than the Incredible Hulk being at Universal, Paramount Pictures was originally going to be the primary studio to distribute the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Before Disney bought it...
Yeah, they made all of them.
They made Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, and their name is on the Avengers. Paramount Pictures was going to be the primary movie company behind Marvel Studios, and then Disney bought them out, so they lost that.
Yeah.
And then Disney bought Lucasfilm, and they finally acquired the rights a year after buying Lucasfilm, which was a year ago. They finally got the rights to make Indiana Jones movies. Disney did. So Paramount doesn't get to make Indiana Jones movies anymore. They keep losing the few things that they could have grasped onto.
And it's just they're not.
And especially Disney keeps fucking them over.
Yeah, well, Paramount's not even trying anymore. I mean,
yeah,
they're just rehashing ideas that were once great, but nobody really wants or cares about it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Hot Tub Time Machine, the first one, is hilarious. I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me. But I could have lived without a second one. I haven't seen the second one, and I probably won't anytime soon. They're coming out with movies that I could easily just go on living my life without ever seeing. So,
what do you think of what I added, Mike? And you're also going on to some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, the two big chances Paramount had, they had Indiana Jones, they had the Avengers, basically, but they sold it off to Disney, and did they use Paramount in front of Iron Man 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the last one.
Yeah.
And, it just kind of sucks. I mean, yeah, they paid them a lot, but they lost their big one to Disney. And, well, they lost everything to Disney, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're not really cranking out anything too good.
Yeah, it takes them forever to make a new Star Trek movie. The gap between Star Trek 1 and Into Darkness is 4 years.
yeah.
The gap between Into Darkness and 3 will be 3 years.
They should make more Nickelodeon movies. You remember the Nick original movies like Harriet the Spy and Snow Day and stuff like that?
Yeah.
They should make more of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those movies were cool.
Fun Size was actually okay for what it was. The one Victoria Justice and it's Halloween.
That's a
Nickelodeon movie. It was all right.
What are some other ones? Let's try to remember. We got Snow Day, we got Fun Size, we got Harriet the Spy. What was another one?
I think they did pretty much all the Nickelodeon movies.
Well, they own Nickelodeon.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Viacom,
the names of the Nick original movies.
I think that was it.
I mean, those are the live action ones mainly.
Yeah.
Was there any other ones?
I think that was it.
Yeah. That's... It too few and far between.
Yeah.
And I think that brings me to what I'm also going to get at, which is I think sooner or later Warner Brothers is going to have to fuse with Paramount.
I doubt it. What would they gain out of it? If they keep cranking out shitty movies like this, what would they gain out of it? You see, the point of Disney buying Marvel and Star Wars is there was quality stuff to buy there. You're not going to buy a crack house when the crack addicts are still living there.
You would have DC and Star Trek versus Marvel and Star Wars then. Yeah. That's basically what you would have.
Yeah, but the next Star Trek movie is probably going to be the last one, at least for quite a while.
Quite a while. The cast is only signed on for a trilogy.
They're not going to buy it. I'm just gonna kill that dream right now. It's not going to happen because there's nothing good to buy.
It is the most realistic possibility though, because Paramount and Warner Brothers seem to get along more than other studios get along with each other. They helped make Watchmen together, and then if you notice, they also made Interstellar together, and on a lot of Paramount DVDs and home video, it's made by Warner Brothers, like a Warner Brothers.
Paramount has James Bond, don't they?
No, that's Sony now.
That's Sony, yeah, because it was MGM. And MGM and Sony.
Well, MGM does a little bit with everyone, but yeah, like for some reason, there's a lot of Paramount home video that's made by Warner Brothers for some reason. So I think that is the most logical one if it were to happen. But like we said, probably not.
But there's nothing worth buying.
They're big money makers, Transformers. Because even though a lot of people don't like those movies, they make a lot of money.
Dude, the last Transformers movie did you see the last Transformers movie?
Mm-hmm.
That movie could have easily been 45 minutes shorter.
See, my thing is... Okay, I know people fucking hate this movie. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. It just should have been 3 hours long.
God.
It was like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Could have easily been 45 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
What kind of pissed me off was they cock teased you during the whole promotion campaign about the Dinobots being in it.
Yeah, and they're only at the very end.
Yeah, they're only in the last 10-15 minutes.
My thing is if you're gonna make a 3-hour movie, have them in there for that last hour.
Yeah.
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 But
and it doesn't bother to explain how the Dinobots are, why they exist.
I think if you had Michael Bay's action, but actually had a second director that could actually tell a story and not have cheesy dialogue, it'd be really, really cool. Just because Michael Bay's wide scale, big budget shit is really cool. Because his action movies get pretty crazy.
And they want to do a cinematic universe with the Transformers.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Does that just mean Shia LaBeouf's gonna meet Mark Wahlberg?
Or maybe they're gonna have one team of Transformers visit one part of the world and the other visit the other part of the world. I don't get it.
Yeah, they don't there's nothing that they meet up with except maybe G.I. Joe, but I mean,
are they gonna meet the Thundercats?
Yeah.
That'd be Warner Brothers.
They're gonna meet Voltron.
Warner Brothers has the Thundercats?
They're gonna meet Voltron and the Gundam bots.
Sony has He-Man.
You know what they could do?
Quit making them?
Well, not besides Transformers Paramount. I don't know if Spawn was owned by New Line Cinema, the original movie.
Yeah.
But that was years ago. But that's when they were Turner, before Warner Brothers brought them. I'm pretty sure they don't have the Spawn rights anymore. That's been years ago. Spawn came out in '98. And you know what they I think Paramount, if
Paramount has worked with New Line Cinema.
Yeah. Well, what you could do, since Warner Brothers has DC and Disney has Marvel, they could get Image Comics, and Image Comics is kind of the underdog, kind of third guy. Because I would say Dark Horse, but Dark Horse
is kind of falling off the wayside.
Dark Horse, besides Hellboy and a couple stories,
Paramount
Hellboy,
does have Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
and the last one was pretty awesome.
It's a solid 7 out of 10.
Everybody hates that one, but that one's actually pretty good.
After hearing for 2 years that I should have been programmed to hate this movie, I actually enjoyed it.
I had fun.
Yeah.
It was good.
But Image Comics did Ninja Turtles, right?
Yeah, that's what Image is doing Turtles, right? See, what they could do with Image Comics, you have their, Image's biggest character. You have Spawn, you have the Savage Dragon, you have Haunt, you have Invincible. I hear Invincible is a really cool story. The Walking Dead is Image. Walking Dead isn't owned by not Walking Dead. Image Comics isn't owned by a specific thing. And I thought maybe if they Like if they got like another big name comic, because Dark Horse does a lot of adaptations. Like
yeah,
they had
like the Star Wars
and the Mass Effect comics and stuff like that.
I just hope that one day Warner Brothers buys Funimation so we can finally see Goku versus Superman.
And I think that is the main thing. Excuse me. That is the main thing that Paramount's missing. They don't have a comic book universe.
They ain't got shit.
Warner Brothers has DC. Disney has most of Marvel. Fox has the X-Men universe, which could be pretty extensive.
With Fantastic Four.
With Fantastic Four. Sony can do Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They can still do Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Universal owns, well, doesn't own, but they are joined now with Legendary Pictures. Legendary Pictures has a comic book division now where they have like different, I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, they have like comic books going on now.
Like
so
Trick or Treat? Like the Trick or Treat?
No, they have original ones too.
Oh.
It slips my mind. They haven't gone anywhere yet. But if any of the Legendary comics get popular and big, they could just be like, hey, Universal, make this.
Yeah.
Universal will just make what Legendary makes now. Paramount does not have a comic book universe, which I think, Michael, that is the winning idea here.
Like, do Image Comics.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, with comic book fans, like, I mean, everybody knows who Spawn is. Like, Spawn was huge in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like,
And he just looks cool.
Well, my thing is, like, the thing with Spawn, like, you gotta think, all these big-name superheroes, like, besides Batman and Superman, didn't get movies in the 90s. Spawn came out in 91 and got a movie a couple of years later. Like,
Yeah.
nowadays that's no big deal, but back then that was, because the only comic book movies in the 90s were the really like no-name B characters. But like in the 90s, and they're good. Like most of them are good, but they were like the no-name B characters. Like I love The Crow, but like nobody ever read The Crow. And stuff like that, and The Rocketeer and stuff, which are all good movies, but they were
The Shadow.
The Shadow was big. He just wasn't big like in the 90s.
And The Phantom.
Yeah, they were like harkening back to old stuff that like modern readers didn't really read, but they did obscure stuff because it was the safe route. Because if they altered stuff, people wouldn't complain.
Because it was the 90s, and like grunge was really popular, and like you had
And
teenagers
Spawn was very grungy.
Yeah, Spawn. I mean, like I think Spawn.
You had teenagers that were trying to be different, possibly more than ever before.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
metal and grunge. Like Spawn, Spawn hit something for like teenage boys. Like it's the perfect comic for teenage boys.
Didn't you say they just revealed that Superman in the comics, his favorite music is grunge?
Not recently, but yeah, in some of the comics they revealed that.
I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious that like the happiest man in the world loves the most depressing music ever.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think that is a good point. Paramount needs a comic book universe.
I would
And,
say go with Image.
Yeah, but yeah. Speaking of Universal doing Legendary, yeah, they are making Trick or Treat graphic novel this year, and the sequel to that comes out in 2016. And they're making a graphic novel of Krampus. The movie for that is first weekend of December of this year, I think.
Who's making Krampus again?
The director of Trick or Treat.
Oh, Michael Dougherty.
Yeah. So it should be pretty fucking weird. Yeah.
To
say the least. But on that note, let's move on to our movie review for the evening. We were very lucky to see this.
Because it's not around our small town.
We had to suck a lot of dick to get in to see this.
We saw It Follows, which is a new American horror movie. It's Michael, you go into the plot. Well, so we obviously introduced it last episode, but you can just sum it up again, refresh the audience.
Okay. It Follows is about she's not a high school girl, she's like early college.
Yeah.
They never specify.
Yeah,
really.
like maybe like 19, 20-year-old girl. And she hooks up with this guy that she likes. she has a group of friends, like, it's her sister and this, like, one girl that wears glasses that farts a lot.
Yeah.
And her one guy friend that's, like, stuck in the friend zone.
Keep that in mind. She farts a lot. That's going to come in handy much later in the movie.
I mean, that's not much of a spoiler. But the main girl's name's Jay. She's played by Micah Monroe. And she starts seeing this guy, and they end up typical teenager thing, park somewhere, have sex and stuff like that. But then he reveals to her shockingly that he had this curse, and now since he had sex with her, he passed it on to her, and now wherever she goes at all times, some unknown thing that can look like anybody will just slowly follow her and walk towards her. And if it gets to her, it'll kill her. And if it kills her, it'll go back to him and go back down the line. So as far as we know, the only thing you can do is pass it on, or I guess just keep running. And that's where the story really begins.
Yeah. It is directed by a man by the name of David Robert Mitchell.
He wrote it and directed it.
Yeah. It is based on a series of nightmares he had when he was younger about a unknown force just simply following him. I'll go ahead and start. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good. I loved a lot of parts of it. I didn't love the entire thing, but it is a good movie. I liked a lot of it. It's creepy more than scary. It's not flat out like screaming and crying and I want to leave the theater right now. It's just very creepy. And it makes the most out of what it does.
And sometimes
makes the most out of the little things.
Sometimes creepy movies or get in your head more than horror.
Yeah.
Creepy movies make you think about it afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
They intrigue you. And sometimes when you think about something too much is when you really scare yourself.
The best part of this movie is the music. The musical score is just amazing. It is an ode to the 80s. It is very neo 80s.
Mainly John Carpenter with like his like synthesizer organ music, like piano.
Yeah. And it beautifully captures how calm, quiet, peaceful, yet mysterious and even haunting the American suburb can be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I live in a suburb, and a lot of neighborhoods can be creepy in a way when you just walk out and you're the only one out there and you hear the wind.
It's the silence.
Yeah.
The city, there's more crime and, murder and stuff like that, but it's the silence.
Yeah. And
it's eerie.
I think it did very well with what it set out to do. I would watch it again. I will totally own it. I can see this being an October tradition. Like every Halloween, I'll pop in It Follows. And it was indeed a plot that could easily be stupid. But it worked. It just did. It just worked. And yeah, I can add more thoughts when I go around the table at the end. So for now, I'll just conclude with I'd give it a 9 out of 10. So Michael, we'll go with you.
It Follows. I really like this movie. I'm a big horror fan, like I said in the last episode. This took me back to when I was a kid and watching horror movies. Not as much because, being a little kid, you're going to get more scared or whatever. But yeah, it was genuinely creepy all throughout it. A thing I'd like to throw out, the characters in it, they're not throwaway characters. They're not like slasher people where they're just there.
Stupid.
They're
only one person in the group dies throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoilers, by the way.
Spoiler. We're not gonna say who it is. Yeah. We won't say who it is, but
we can go into spoilers at the end.
Yeah.
But then they actually felt, except for one person, they actually felt important. I think a lot of them had depth. Like they didn't feel two-dimensional, and yeah, they weren't throwaway characters that you're rooting for like some slasher villain just to kill. Like you actually felt scared when they felt scared.
Yeah.
And just the visuals, like the town, like it had this kind of, mainly with suburbs, like broken down houses and like old closed businesses. It's that kind of lost beauty and it has that somber tone throughout the whole movie.
There's an image that I really love when after the first guy that passes it on to her, when he knocks her out and he wakes her up and she's tied to the chair, like just the way the skyline looked and outside that broken down abandoned building, and like when she's first introduced to the Thing and stuff, like the cinematography is amazing.
Yeah, like it has a lot of beauty to it. And this movie's so simplistic, but it's not stupid.
Yeah.
And it has that classic horror thing where everything's in the unknown. You don't know how and you don't know why, but it's happening.
Yeah. Donnie.
I think one thing that this movie did this movie did a very good job of creeping its audience out. One thing that it did a lot of that like would terrify the shit out of me almost every scene, as she would move from as the group of kids and everything would go from place to place to try to get more information on this thing that's following the main character around. You would always see someone just walking in the background because, and the spoiler alert, the Thing, it doesn't like run after you, it doesn't fly after you like, other monsters do. It just simply walks. And it just walks at a normal pace at you. And in almost every scene, if you look in the background, you'll see somebody just walking. And they stand out from the rest of the people, like background characters and everything. But you still just can't tell if it's just the person who just happens to be walking or if it's the sex demon, as we'll call it.
Yeah.
So it's just it did a very good job with the fear of the unknown. The music, I thought the music was cool, nice throwback, but the music got very overwhelming at times.
Yeah.
Like there were moments where the music actually gave me a bit of a headache.
A little loud.
A little too loud, and also just
part of that could be the theater's fault too.
Possibly, but there were also moments where you couldn't hear what the characters were saying over the music. And then it's also, I feel like the music was kind of overused a little bit. Like there were some moments where it just got to the point where it just got a little corny. I felt
it's okay to tell the composer to take 5.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it did a great job of just scaring the shit out of you, just because the fear of the unknown is just so prevalent in this movie. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think it was a damn good movie.
It's more than fair.
Yeah. So great movie. Definitely the best horror movie we've had in a while.
Best movie of the year so far, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This year has been very disappointing so far.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't give it. I'll give it an A. I like using the letter grades. I'll give it a solid A.
Okay.
This is a numbers house, son.
Well, it was if it was numbers, I would say 9.
Solid A. I will agree, though, there are a few moments where it did feel like the composer was trying to narrate the movie himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you take a seat, director. It's like, I got this. I'll let him know what to feel.
Yeah.
But I think this music is great. And I hope this director goes places. I don't want him to make a sequel to this, because it's just...
What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point?
I would love to see him do another horror movie. And, might I add, this movie, like I said, it barely has any blood in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any real gore in it. There is
the goriest scene's probably in the first
opening
5 minutes.
Yeah, and you see...
And that's it.
Spoiler alert, you see like a
bone.
A bone.
Yeah.
And it's not that... And, might I add, the first scene in this movie immediately... like draws you in.
Yeah.
Like the first act, slows down.
Yeah, everything. Like the first 10 minutes draws you in, but then the second 15 minutes is really fucking slow.
Yeah.
But it was trying to do like what the old horror movies did, where it slows down. and then builds up.
But like the first scene,
verse, chorus, verse.
The first scene where you're introduced to the tone of the movie really, and is playing the fast music. And the girl's just running around. And that's the great thing about the scene is...
What is she running from?
What is she running from? And you know what it is, but this scene doesn't bother to show it. So the whole scene, she's just playing pretend, really. She's an actress and she's acting. The first scene is just her running around in a circle from nothing, and it still feels terrifying.
Yeah.
It still feels really creepy. And then you see the image, but yeah, like I said, the cinematography in this is so good that even if nothing that great is happening on the screen, it's still nice to look at. But yeah, that's That's really everything I have to say before I would start talking in circles. Was there any closing thoughts from...
Are we going to get into spoiler territory?
Yeah, if you want to, sure.
Not really much to spoil, honestly.
Well, I guess spoiler as far as like the different forms.
We'll talk about the forms.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into the plot, but we can do the forms.
It's really interesting because they don't really show this they can't because it's trailers. But a lot of the forms it would take is someone that was naked or like their clothes were torn open, like you could see like genitalia and like a woman's breasts and stuff like that. Because this is very much a story that has like, the fear of contracting sexually transmitted disease and the fear of being raped or violated.
Yeah.
And that's where it really hits you, like these like scary looking naked people that are just walking towards you.
Yeah.
And they're not even like, they don't look dead or anything. There's just something about them.
Yeah. Let's go into our favorite ones. For me, this may be the obvious one in the movie for a lot of people, is when, and once again we're in spoilers right now, she goes into the kitchen and she's sleeping over with her friends, and she's in the kitchen and she slowly turns, and just by the way she turns at the camera, she's about to look at something creepy.
Yeah.
You see this girl that's like pissing. Like, I know if I'm saying it right now, it's like, well, okay, all right. But it's like she's urinating on herself. Her face is messed up. Almost like she...
Yeah, it looked like she was missing teeth.
Yeah.
Like she was beaten, almost like she did look like the victim of a rape, almost, with the face.
Yeah.
And she slowly... You couldn't tell if her arm's missing or she just has her arms behind her back. And she's just slowly walking at her, and the way the camera shows it, like, it gives you chills. I almost froze. And then, I know the one Michael will share with me is one of the first times, I think this is the second time, she's in school, and she sees this old woman in almost a nightgown, maybe a hospital gown.
It looked like a hospital gown.
Yeah.
Walking towards her, and the girl just leaves, and it starts following her in the hallway, and the girl turns around and it shows a closer view of the old lady following her. Just the look in her eyes.
There was no soul in those eyes.
Just the look in those eyes.
Her eyes were dead.
Yeah. And it just, like, this movie, god damn.
Yeah.
I'll let you two go now. But
that's the one that really creeps me out.
You have a thing with old ladies.
Yeah, decrepit old women freak me the fuck out. And I think the one, like, where, like, her friend was pounding on the door and they finally let her in, and this big, tall...
with no eyes.
Weird-looking motherfucker looked like he had no eyes, like, or they were just shadowed in really bad. Like, he just kind of, like, ducks in real quick and lurches in.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty creepy.
Yeah.
What did you think of the first one you see, where it's just, like, that naked lady with brown hair?
The music. Once again, the key to this movie is the music a lot of the time, and the lighting, and the way she's just walking. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who this director is,
it's
but
like
he figured something out.
Like, the first time you see the sex demon, and it's just the naked lady just walking toward... Like, because you're seeing it from the main character's point of view, and you see the demon walking, and it's just the form of the naked lady. The whole time you're expecting it to turn into something grotesque and just absolutely horrifying.
And it doesn't.
And it doesn't. And that just terrifies you even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It could take the form of a loved one or someone, friends or family. I think the big question is, who are the people that the characters don't recognize? Are they past victims? Does it take on
Possibly.
As another shell? Does it be like, oh, well, they say it doesn't think or feel, but for the sake of the sake, if the creature doesn't feel like looking like anyone they know, does it take on the form of someone they took in the past?
Yeah.
What does it do?
Yeah.
It's just... Like, this guy figured out something that this is the scary movie that I have waited my entire life to see, and it passed. It got my fist. It got my fist.
I think my favorite form that the sex demon took. I'm just gonna call it the sex demon, just because
that's what it is.
That's the name we all fell in love with.
Yeah.
I think the form it took that I like the most is when it took the form of her friend when they're at the beach.
Yeah.
Because
was that her friend?
Yeah. The one that farts.
The one with the big fucking nerd glasses.
I couldn't tell if that was her friend or not.
Yeah. Because at that point throughout the whole movie, like I said, it did a bunch of those moments where like they're doing this at this place, and you see somebody walking in the background, but you're not quite sure if it's the thing or if it's just a regular person or not.
Yeah. But this time it was her friend.
Yeah, but this time I saw her friend walking in the background towards the group. And every time before that, every time I saw somebody walking in that certain way, I got suspicious. This was the first time I got relaxed. It was like, no big deal. Until I saw her friend in the little fucking floaty in the ocean down by the beach.
Oh, shit.
That's when I shit myself. Yeah. That's when I went, no.
Yeah, and then nobody was doing anything. Like, you're like, she's fucked.
Yeah.
Because it gets right there.
Yeah, it picks up her hair.
Yeah, it picks her up by her hair.
Because she had her back turned to it, so she didn't see it. Yeah. So it just straight up pulls her by the hair.
And then the crazy thing for me is like, oh, this thing's like a ghost or something. Like, no, this is a tangible creature.
It's just invisible.
It's just invisible because right after it grabs her by hair, her friend like gets the idea to swing like a lawn chair, like just like in the area near her, and he hits it, like the chair breaks.
And it sends him flying.
And then it fucking hits him, and he goes flying. And then you notice when people shoot it, it bleeds, so it can be hurt.
Busts open the door.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just like, it's not like a ghost where it can just pop out of nowhere and phase through walls and shit. Like if it can't open a door, it'll break a window and walk in. Like it's like, it's not even like a spirit or it doesn't even feel like a thing from another world. Like it feels like a real creature. It's just invisible.
Yeah. And like when they go.
I also thought it was creepy, like when they threw the sheet over it at the end.
Yeah.
And
it falls in the water.
And they do. Where was that? It was like at an abandoned school or something.
It was at like some swimming pool
they
they used to go to.
They talked about going there. I think like it was just some place they would sneak in to swim.
But it was like a big building, and like the imagery of that building, and like the sky and stuff. And what was another thing? Oh, they lived in a time warp of sorts because they're watching these old TVs, these old programs. The one girl has this like makeup kit that looks like a seashell. And she's reading on it like a smartphone. So it's like, when does this take place?
And they're using like cord phones. Like they'll watch in the old movies and the old TV. That's a reference to Halloween because in Halloween they're watching like old horror movies from the 50s.
And when they go on a date, he takes her to an old movie theater that's playing Charade with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah,
a thriller. And it's like this movie exists in its own time. But what were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
And like the one dude, like the cool dude who's basically like
Damone from Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
or Uncle Jesse.
Yeah, he's just got like the long. He's a stereotypical guy that girls love, like the long dark hair and like the whitewashed like jean jacket. Yeah, he was like straight out of the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we'll wrap it up there unless any of you had any closing thoughts.
No.
Summed it up.
Solid A, 9 out of 10. I'll totally buy it when it comes out. Like, it's probably one of the greatest modern horror movies.
Yeah. So, best one in a while.
Yeah. Love it. So, thanks for listening. I'm Blake Jones. You can find me online on both Twitter and Tumblr at Blake V. Jones.
I'm Donnie Johnson. You can also find me on Twitter at TheDonJohn1991. You can also follow Pooka Saucy on Twitter at Pooka Saucy. Definitely follow us. Spread the word. Share the videos. Share the Twitter. We might be having a Facebook soon.
Maybe.
I'm done.
I'm Michael Whedon. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at mwhedon, just all one word. And you can find me on Tumblr on Blood in the Abyss, and that's all one word.
Goodbye.